Act 1-7, Wrath. So this is another mission that's going to be quite hammer focused, and additionally a lot of the spawns are going to be preset. It's not going to be emergence holes, so you can't do any kind of nefarious skillful techniques to supersede the encounters. The biggest threat here is the wandering nemesis that's being shot by the Cedar, and the fact that there are a couple of drones on each of the balconies that if they team fire you, they'll kill you. My strategy is very simple, guys. I focus directly on killing the Cedar. 2 full hits and he'll kill the person on the balcony anyway, so it'll be the end of the area and then we can move onwards. But there's an interesting spawn coming up where there's a blocked doorway that once you've done what you need to do and the game does its scripting, it knocks a bunch of stuff off the doorway. And if you stand, it'll knock them onto you. And I always hoped that it would kill me, but it doesn't work like that. But it's this doorway here. To my left, you see the door with the cross on it? There's going to be a transition coming up where I skip the waiting process because the wait is quite long. There's one of the OG bouncers, you see that? That happens all the time on the original Gears. That's how people backflipped out of the maps in the multiplayer, by exploiting things like that. Also, if there's any furniture in the room, the chainsaw doesn't have a cutting animation in this game. They got that in 2, so you can just run through it and it disintegrates, and I absolutely adore it. But this is me going to pick up the ammunition that's just behind here. I used to love how the ammo glowed blue in this game. It always reminded me of Perfect Dark, because in Perfect Dark there was an option that enabled you to toggle on a glowing effect on the ammunition so you never missed it, and it looks a little bit like the blue that's on the ammo crate. But this doorway here has a bunch of grenadiers in it, and a dude with a hammer burst at the back, but depending on your AI will depend on if your grenades do anything. Both of the shotgunners then were not coming forward, so I couldn't really do too much with that grenade. Luckily, because technically they are grenadiers, they will drop grenades. And they're easy to spot, because do you notice how they do not wear helmets and they've got shoulder pads? If you see the shoulder pads like that, they will always have a shotgun. It's the same way this fella here has a Boltok. This is the introduction of the Boltok, and one of my rules is if someone has a Boltok, I put my pistol on, and we have a nice little pistol war. Because you've just got to kind of do it. I'm going to make the mistake of giving the Boltok a second chance, because it's one of my least favourite weapons in this game, and by the end of the game, it's still my least favourite weapon. In Gears of War 4, the Boltok is superb. In this game, it does not fire straight. It's a piece of shit, and it winds me up. And it suffers from the same thing the sniper and the boom shot suffer from. If you shoot the Boltok while you're moving, the bullet does not go where it's meant to go. It's something that they put in to get away from how powerful the headshot capacity is on it. So that grenade right there is just going to weaken a bunch of enemies next to the sofa. If it gets rid of the sofa, they have no cover and they'll have to hide in the archway, so it makes it so they can't rush you. The only threat here is your team cock-blocking you and the enemy rushing you. As I briefly mentioned, though, there is a headshot modifier in this game. It's something that has preceded in all the Gears of War games, and each of the weapons has a different variant. For instance, I believe the Lancer's headshot modifier is 1.5 times, so it's like the equivalent of 1.5 extra damage, I think. Or 1 times 1.5 more damage on the hits. And it applies to every bullet. So that stacks up when you consider that the Lancer on the campaign on Gears of War 4, which is the last piece of information I found, just to give you a bit of a ballpark, the Lancer does 55 damage a bullet. A Nasher shot does something like 800 or 900 damage a shot. So to give you an idea of the metric to kill things, with how fast the Lancer fires, and then multiplying that with that headshot modifier, it can soon stack up if you aim for the right part of the body, which is why in Gears of War you should always aim for the head, because the headshot modifier is really nice. And then of course the sniper rifle has one of the highest headshot modifiers in the game. And all of this compounds to make some serious damage. And then when you look into the active reload for the Lancer gives you a 30% damage increase on the ammunition that you used. So when you compound all these things together, you can deal some serious damage. Or never ever rev the chainsaw early on this enemy, because he can turn around and run away. I did that before and he fucked off, which is really frustrating. But when you kill him, a bunch of wretches are going to spawn, and they can also spawn on the roof. So look between the floor and the roof. There is some kind of weird sensitivity on the turret going on, which makes it really difficult for me to aim upwards as quickly as I would like, so you're going to notice that I'm not quite as accurate as I've been when I'm playing with the other guns. But there is that encounter. This encounter coming up is one of the more tricky ones of this act, because it's kind of a long engagement, and if you push close, there's a lot of flanking opportunities. But there's enemies here that have Boltoks, which does a lot of damage. The Boltok will do about 90% of your HP if they hit you, and they do hit you. So if you get hit when you're close, 2 shots and you're dead. If anybody team fires you, you're dead. So for a moment like this, the best strategy is to go into the room and kind of flank around to get rid of them decisively. But I clipped this pillar back here and put a few of them down before I move forward. And it's one of those things I've kind of always done, but watching it back, it is not the best strategy, but it's the safest. And you could use your grenades if you want to, but I think I just got a little bit fed up with the whole strategy then, and I've pushed in a little bit more. Like, this is a good position, but they have a path around to the left. You can get flanked here. This is also one of the opportunities where you'll accidentally pick up a Boltok, so be very careful if that happens. And then we have the House of Sovereign's rooftop. So chainsaw this guy. From this point onwards, you can either use the Troika or the Hammer of Dawn if you still have it. I do everything I can in this game to use the hammer as much as possible, so I'm going to use the Hammer of Dawn. The main problem here is the Nemesis. If you get hit by those aerial bombs, they kill you instantly on Insane. But be very, very careful because they move incredibly slowly and sometimes your team does not shoot them. But a little breakdown for new hammer players, if you're wanting to know how to use this weapon a little bit better or if you're having trouble with it. Hammer's detection is oftentimes inconsistent. Not only is it inconsistent, if you're aiming at a moving target, it makes it even worse. So the easiest and simplest way to claim a kill with this weapon is to never aim at people directly. Aim around them. Aim at something that is static, that does not move. Moving on a tracking a moving target can be done, and it is something you want to get used to being able to do, but it's even better if you can track the ground next to them, because the ground never moves. So find an angle, find a doorway, find a piece of cover, find anything that's close enough to them to hit them with the splash that doesn't move, and use that as your reference. Secondly, the hammer has a cooldown period, so if you do not get the beep, or you do not get the circular indication at the end of the laser, it means it cannot be fired yet. So don't try to fire it when it can't be fired. The reason you're having trouble is because it's not going to work. Understand the ebb and the flow of the hammer, understanding how to get those hammer shots off, and you will immediately become a much better player. You'll stop killing yourself with it in the multiplayer, you'll stop ruining it for your team by not using it correctly, and you'll start getting a lot more kills, because the Hammer of Dawn is one of the best weapons in the game. Thank you for watching, and you take care now.